One of the misconceptions about async and await in .NET 4.5 is that they will increase the performance of your application. But that's not true at all. So let me quickly explain how async works and when and if you will benefit from it. In web applications, when we receive a request, runtime allocates a thread to handle that request. Now, when it comes to I/O-bound operations, like accessing a database or a file, or network-bound operations, like calling a remote service, there is always a delay. For example, in the case of accessing a database, this thread has to wait until the database executes the query and returns the result. Now, since we have limited amount of memory and threads available in a web server, if we have a lot of concurrent users, at some point, we may run out of threads because many of these threads are waiting for I/O-bound or network-bound operations to complete. In this case, we either need to add more hardware in terms of memory or more machines, or we can use async and await. This is something I've covered in my C# Advanced course, so I'm not going to go into details because I don't want to waste other people's time who are already familiar with this concept. Now, when we use async, our thread will no longer wait for the database to return the result. It will be released so it can serve other requests. So this does not improve the performance of our application because it does not reduce the average response time. We still have to wait for the database to return the result. But during that wait period, our threads can be better utilized to serve more concurrent users. And this means better scalability, not performance. But even when it comes to scalability, async and await do not always improve the scalability of your application. Look at this diagram. Imagine this is a pipe. We pour water from the top and it comes from the bottom. Now imagine on the top, we have a bunch of HTTP requests coming to our web server. So near the top, we've got IIS, and near the bottom, we've got our database server. When we use async and await, it's like we are opening up the top of this pipe a little bit, so we can pour more water or more requests. Now our pipe looks like a funnel, but look at the bottom. It's still the same size. So if you're using a single instance of SQL Server, that's going to be your bottleneck, no matter how many more requests you can serve in IIS, because all these requests will eventually have to wait for the database server to respond. On the other side, if you use a SQL cluster or a NoSQL database like Mongo or Raven, which is designed for scalability, or SQL Azure, that's a different story. The bottom of the pipe will also expand, and that's when you have true scalability. So async and await do not improve the performance of your application. They can only improve the scalability given that you are not using a single instance of SQL Server.